Okay, so this is the fifth video in this series. This is going to be looking at research methods. It's the first part, and it's covering readings 26 to 37. First big idea we'll talk about is ways to gather research, so the longitudinal versus cross-sectional. And then we'll talk about the different types. So there's 5 different methods, but this one's going to talk about 3: surveys, observations, and case studies. So when we left off with the last video, we saw that research was important. And the way that the research is organized through the scientific method. First thing you do is you ask the question. Then you develop your hypothesis. This video is looking at how you test and gather the data. The last series of this video will be talking about statistics and crunching information. So let's talk about who you're actually going to research, the people. There's 2 different ways. You can do longitudinal or cross-sectional. Cross-sectional is where you look at different age groups and different people at one moment in time. You do it once. The positives is it's quick and it's not expensive. The negatives are you're going to have different people, and different people give different data. The longitudinal is where you have the same people over a long period of time. It's really good because you get the same people and the data is really extensive. However, it could be negative because over time, people end up dying, they get lost in the study, they drop out, and it's very expensive. So again, there's the 5 different research methods that we're going to talk about. 3 in this video alone, but case study, observation, survey, and then there's an experiment and correlation. So when you're gathering the data, you can conduct these types of research methods to get it. The first one is a case study. A case study is when one group or subject, let me bump this up a little bit here. A case study is when one group or subject is studied for an extended period of time to observe changes in long terms. So it's really good because you get to study one person for an extensive period of time. You may be conducting different surveys on the individual, gathering the data. However, it's very time consuming and it's expensive. And you can't always generalize the information from person to person on the information you gather. The next one is by doing a naturalistic observation. A naturalistic observation is when you observe someone in their natural environment. The positive is people might not act differently in their natural habitat. They forget they're getting observed and you could record their everyday life. The negative is people might act differently because they're being watched, which is often known as the Hawthorne effect. In 1950, a researcher, Henry A. Landsberg, examined productivity in light, and he uncovered a new finding. He was studying illumination, and he wanted to know if turning on lights and brightening the area would make people work harder. Well, when the individuals were there observing them, people started working harder with the lights in addition. However, when the study was over, the researchers went away, the lights were still bright, but the productivity decreased, showing that it wasn't so much to deal with the lighting that increased it, but it was actually because people were watching their behavior. Their work would improve, and it did for a short period of time. Surveys is another way to gather data. A survey is often known as a questionnaire. A positive is you get a lot of data in a short amount of time. The negative is wording effects, and people lie. Wording effects is subtle changes in the order of words can actually skew it. So if you don't know what a term means or the way in which it's written can give you bad data or a false sense of information. You also have to consider your population. You want a representative sample of your population. This is all cases in the group are studied from which samples can be drawn. Oftentimes you want to use random sampling, a sample that fairly represents the population because each member has an equal chance of inclusion. If you sent it to everyone, you would get the motivated group. So you have to be very careful with how you randomly sample your population. The next video will be going over experiments and correlation.